Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
It's a tanker and it keeps exploding, and it's a tanker and 3 cars. 1 car flipped over.
Inferno on I-94.
It struck into the median in between and went over it and wound up going into the westbound lane, and obviously caught on fire.
Fuel ignites into flames on one of the area's busiest freeways. Incredibly, there is no loss of life, but the damage is throwing a wrench into the evening commute. And topping our news at 5, you're looking at live pictures from Sky 4 above the scene near I-94 and Wyoming. As you can see, there's still quite a lot of cleanup to be done.
And as we hit the 5 p.m. hour, if your evening commute takes you through Dearborn, you need to look at what is happening here still on eastbound I-94. We're glad you're with us. It has been closed now since a tanker burst into flames near Wyoming Avenue late this morning.
And in the minutes ahead, we'll have live reports on the efforts to clear the freeway and get it back open, the best ways around the mess, and the trouble it caused for many Metro Detroiters who were stuck in traffic behind the wheel or behind the wreck as well. Let's begin with Sean Lay and the timetable for getting the freeway back open. Good evening, Sean.
It's going to be a while, Carmen. Big time damage to the freeway down behind me. Just got an update from Michigan State Police. Right now, they're getting conflicting statements from the drivers involved in this crash. Much more investigation into what caused the crash will have to be done. Behind me here, the work continues. You can see big wreckers here trying to hoist up. And just in the last few seconds, they hoisted up the trailer, the tanker here that was fully loaded with diesel fuel and gasoline. Now, just a charred mess. 2 Boulevard and Trumbull cranes now hoisting it off the freeway. So we're getting a better idea of the cleanup here. And now tonight at 5 o'clock, we're getting a much more clear idea of how badly I-94 through this stretch was damaged by the heat caused by this massive tanker fire. From Sky 4, a remarkable view of a tanker on fire and all of the dangerous aftermath. From the ground, cell phone video of that fire and the smoke that could be seen for miles. Ron Thomas was driving the tanker fully loaded with 6,800 gallons of gasoline and 5,800 gallons of diesel fuel. He tells his brother someone cut the tanker off, and when the tanker hit the wall, that tanker split open like a tin can, splashing fuel ignited by sparks. Doug Thomas says his brother saved the driver, whose car was pinned to the front of the tanker.
His hair's burnt on the back, his arms are burnt. I'm gonna go. I'm terrible right now.
Another driver's car behind all of this was splashed by fuel and by fire, and it went airborne.
It struck into the median in between and went over it and wound up going into the westbound lane, and obviously caught on fire, and we had to extinguish that and the semi-trailer at the same time.
What's miraculous to everyone out here is that no one was seriously injured, but other drivers behind all of this had to dodge the fiery debris. Now the job is to clean up the fuel left in the tanker and on the freeway and assess just how much damage was done to this part of I-94. Here live, MDOT just giving me an update on how long I-94 and the eastbound lanes will be closed. Here's the deal. The heat actually broke up part of that new surface down there, so it's going to have to be resurfaced, but they're only going to shut down 2 lanes. The highway will not be shut down while that work continues. As soon as they get all this stuff cleared out of here, they're going to do an assessment and start talking about resurfacing here 2 different lanes, shutting 94 down to 1 lane from Michigan Avenue, which is right around here where I'm standing, down to I-96. So they're going to have to resurface this part, but won't, Devin and Carmen, be closing I-94 once that work begins. It'll be down to 1 lane. Back to you.
Now, Sean, you mentioned that there was a car or vehicle that cut off the tanker. Did the driver get a look at what that car looked like, or even did anybody get a license plate number?
Couple things here. That seems to be the car that may have been tangled up with the tanker in all this. Now, the brother of the tanker driver says it was a clear cutoff. The tanker ended up hitting that car, and then that tanker driver ended up getting out. And while the tanker was on fire, he had just moments to help the driver that he hit, the driver that he says cut him off. But Michigan State Police says they're getting mixed signals here, some mixed information from both of those drivers. Luckily, both were not injured. That's the good news here, but they're getting different stories about who exactly did what. In fact, Michigan State Police tells me the evidence at the scene is conflicting with what both drivers are telling them right now.
All right, so the investigation continues. Sean, thank you for that report.
Let's turn things over now to Ashley Barrissey here with a look at the best ways to get around that stretch of I-94. It's a critical piece if you're coming from the airport, that's for sure, Ashley.
Absolutely, but we do have to be thankful the fact that this is the westbound side that's open, because we're going to see more traffic leaving the city for the rush hour drive. Not as much traffic on that eastbound side, but nonetheless, we are dealing with heavier traffic volumes, and this is going to cause a concern for a lot of drivers that are traveling in between Dearborn and Detroit. So that eastbound stretch of I-94 is closed off at the Southfield Freeway. That's the closure point to Wyoming. Westbound I-94 is open, but 2 lanes are blocked at Michigan Avenue. It'll squeeze down there. If you're going to be traveling east or westbound, you can use Michigan Avenue or I-96 to get around that. And I want to show you one of our 4 live traffic cameras along, this is actually I-94 right near Rotunda. And this is the westbound stretch that is actually closed off. You do see traffic that's coming on from Wyoming, but that eastbound side is westbound side getting by fine. The eastbound side is closed off. So you can see here that we have just that light traffic volumes from the traffic that's coming on from Wyoming. Otherwise, you're going to be dealing with bumper-to-bumper traffic on some of the other areas freeways, and that is because a lot of the traffic is having to figure out different ways to go. I-75 at Gratiot, where it connects to 96 and I-94, you're starting to see the heavy backups because I-94 traveling westbound will squeeze down to just a lane or 2 right at Michigan Avenue. Otherwise, you can see the traffic flow map here. This is the closure point along I-94, and that red stretch right here is where it's closed off. But if you're going to be traveling the Southfield Freeway trying to connect to I-94, we're starting to see some orange in that area, meaning traffic is starting to slow down because they don't have anywhere to go if you're wanting to travel along that stretch of freeway. Otherwise, Michigan Avenue is starting to slow down a little bit, but Michigan Avenue and I-96, the best detours, and we're going to continue to update you throughout the 6 o'clock hour. Back to you.
You know, even before there was I-94, you could take Michigan Avenue to Chicago.
Sure, right,
So it's still there. You know, thankfully, no lives were lost in this explosion. Many lives, though, were impacted.
And many were caught in the huge traffic backups that we've been talking about, but others literally felt what happened. Jason Colthorpe, alive with some of the stories we're hearing from the drivers who were there. Jason?
Absolutely. And Devin, you know what's just happening right now as we speak? They're loading the rest of what's left of that semi onto a flatbed and just about to haul that out. You can see the charred remains as it's being led away. But yeah, like you said, around this area, there are lots of businesses, gas stations, restaurants. And when this accident happened, so many people heard it immediately and then seconds later felt those explosions one after another. And then, of course, that fire that could be seen for miles became an instant camera phone moment.
You felt it. It's like a little earthquake or something like this.
Danny Karaki had a car up on the hoist at his auto repair shop when the whole place rumbled.
A big explosion. By the time I get to the overbridge right there, overpass, which is 94, right, and I see the semi-truck blowing up. I think it's full of gas.
Martin Smith was about 50 yards away pumping gas when the tanker blew. Moments later, he was rolling his own video.
We could hear the explosions. You could see the flames shoot up. They were probably from ground level. They were probably about another 25 foot, so I guess about 50-foot flames coming from the freeway.
Same goes for many other people working on Michigan Avenue.
And what were you thinking at this point when you had it going?
I hope everybody was okay. At first I thought it was a gas station.
It left thousands of drivers stuck on the highway, including this man whose day was turned upside down.
I have a meeting at a grocery store here, and my whole day's kind of messed up here. They had the whole highway blocked off. I don't even know why.
Well, Pat, it was because a tanker blew up, but the question now remains how, and you're seeing what's left of it now. How did this blow up? We're hearing how the accident may have happened. One restaurant had a bird's eye view because of the security video. We have gotten our hands on that, and we're going to show that to you at 6. It's amazing video of this truck on fire, screaming down the highway. We'll tell you the story of the restaurant, how they stayed calm and tried to take care of all of its customers and get them out safely. That story in the exclusive video coming up on Local 4 News at 6. Guys?
All right, somebody had their Camera's rolling.
Ready. Yeah.
Jason, thank you for that report. Our coverage of the I-94 tanker explosion is just getting started. Coming up, with all of that fuel that spilled onto the freeway and into nearby drains, what's the potential impact to the environment, including our water?
Also, what we've learned about the trucking company that owns the tanker, and some are calling it a miracle that no one died or was seriously hurt. How's that possible? Well, you might be surprised by how many things went right today in this emergency. All right, now, more breaking news tonight, and this takes us to Trenton, where police are investigating a homicide for the first time there in a decade.
A man was found inside a condominium on Daniel Drive in the Westwood Association. Kimberly Gill is live with what we know so far. Good evening, Kimberly.
Good evening, Carmen and Devin. Yeah, I wish I had more information for you at this time, but police really aren't telling us a whole lot. I can't step out of the way and just set the scene for you and show you what's going on right now. You can see that there's crime tape right at the entrance here to the Westwood condominiums where this happened on Daniel Drive. Several police cruisers from the Trenton Police Department are still here on scene. They are down. It's hard for you to see, but down here at one of the condos where the garage is open there, and they have been there since mid-afternoon. There have been police cars here since midday investigating the crime scene. Here's what we know. Police say a 65-year-old man was found dead here at Westwood Condominiums. It's located on Daniel Drive, not too far from West Road in the city of Trenton. We don't know the man's name nor the conditions surrounding his death, but police do confirm it's being investigated as an apparent homicide. At this time, police say no one is in custody, and they have not yet released a description of anyone they're looking for. Neighbors who we spoke to say it's a quiet area. People keep to themselves, and they're surprised something like this would happen here. Now, we are working hard to try to find out more information for you. Again, as you can see, police still here on the scene conducting their investigation. They're trying to find out information, and no doubt they have to contact the family before they can say anything to the media. We will, of course, keep you posted right here on Local 4 News and on our website, clickondetroit.com. Reporting live in Trenton this afternoon, Kimberly Gill, Local 4.
All right, thank you, Kimberly. As she said, it hasn't happened in 10 years.
Exactly. Well, despite all this breaking news that we've been following today, we've not forgotten about the weather. Gorgeous, huh?
Ben, where are you?
You're over here, just getting ready. Temperatures, of course, today hit a gorgeous high in the mid-50s. We'll fall pretty fast under clear skies tonight, but can we get back there again tomorrow and the next day? And then we'll take a look at your weekend forecast coming up.
I'm Mara McDonald. We've got 3 people stabbed and a pregnant 11-year-old girl kicked in the stomach. Detroit police have a heck of an investigation on their hands.
New at 6.
Sex, money, and the feds. Tonight, a young woman and her parents accused by the feds of trying to extort more than $2 million from a local businessman. The latest on the investigation. Also new, cancellation controversy. An important program at a local school for the hearing impaired is being cut. What the school is saying about a plan B.
All right, let's get you updated on our breaking news. If you're just joining us, a stretch of I-94 in Dearborn is still shut down as crews clean up after this massive tanker fire you see on the left side of your screen. Right now, the eastbound lanes of I-94 remain closed at Greenfield. Eastbound is closed. 3 vehicles were involved in this morning's crash, and that included the fuel tanker that sparked these explosions. Luckily, no serious injuries, and now crews working to clean up the fuel from the tanker and assess the damage to the area. They're already saying they're going to have to do some resurfacing there. MDOT says one of the eastbound lanes may not be destroyed, so they still need to get the stuff out of there, the debris, so that they can look at the condition of the roadway. We will keep you advised on what's happening here. Stay with us here and at clickondetroit.com. All right, 3 people stabbed, plus an 11-year-old girl who is pregnant. 11-year-old girl who is pregnant, kicked in the stomach.
I know, a lot to think about here. Just a horrible night inside a house on Detroit's west side, and now multiple investigations. Let's get to Mara McDonald. She's got the latest on the investigation. Mara, everybody is expected to survive, right?
Carmen, Devin, here is the situation. Detroit police are expecting that the 3 people who have been stabbed will recover. However, there's a question as to whether that 11-year-old girl who is pregnant, whether her unborn child will survive this.
Take a look. You can see the broken window. Police telling us the suspect in this case busted through the window and started stabbing and kicking. This is 34-year-old Leandra Bryant's home. This picture of her was taken just 2 days ago. The man in the photo, who has not yet been charged, is the suspect accused of stabbing her. And the 16-year-old boy in the house, as well as a 12-year-old girl. He kicked the 11-year-old girl who is pregnant in the stomach.
I was supposed to come get him, and instead of me, I was so concerned with my own personal life. Instead of taking that moment just to come get him, man.
Edward says his brother texted him yesterday asking him to come to the Monica home and pick him up. He was no longer being allowed to stay here after Child Protective Services discovered the 11-year-old in the house is pregnant. Edward says his brother is not the father of that 11-year-old's unborn child. What sparked the stabbing last night is not yet clear, but the suspect is in custody. His brother wishes he'd picked him up when he started texting him yesterday afternoon.
I feel like I failed him. I should have reacted more quicker in the situation. I had to work. I worked 2 jobs. I tried to give him. Man, I just feel like I failed him. I was trying to do all the best I could for him.
Detroit police have that suspect in custody at this point. He was released from prison just this past February. We are at Detroit Police Headquarters. Mara McDonald, Local 4.
All right, thank you, Mara. Well, tonight investigators are looking into what caused the fire that gutted a male strip club that's been on Detroit's west side since the 1970s. Watts Club Mozambique has been on Finkel for more than 3 decades. It was destroyed this morning when a fire ripped through the building. Firefighters battled flames for hours, but the building was a total loss. No one was injured. The cause of the fire is now under investigation.
All right, Ben's turn now, and it's just lovely outside today, isn't it?
Yeah. I can put up my snow pants? You think?
Don't put me in there
through the weekend anyway.
Yeah. For the foreseeable future, we've got nothing but just beautifulness in the next 7 days. We're 10 degrees above average. With those highs today, we hit 55, believe it or not. And we didn't have to deal with the fog. The clouds were gone. The sunshine was out. I mean, it was just picture perfect. Still is, as a matter of fact. 54 is where we sit at both Metro and City Airport. Pontiac is one of the cooler temperatures, and they're hanging out at 48 degrees. In fact, we'll jump back and show you what's going on here for temperatures across the area, because these are pretty nice all across the state. You got to go all the way up to the Sioux to get the 30s, and also in the northern or upper peninsula, 39 there in Marquette. Temperatures just a little bit milder out here on the other side of the lake, but there's not a lot as far as precipitation goes to look at here. High pressure is settling in. There's some very light showers that are starting to make it into the west part of the upper peninsula, but that is not going to affect us. In fact, our next chance of rain is actually going to be coming from the south, and that's not going to be until we get into the upcoming weekend. But we'll talk temperatures here first, because with the clear skies tonight, higher pressure settling in with those lighter winds, that is a setup where we usually see our temperatures pretty much crater, and that's what we're going to do tonight as those numbers get down to the upper 20s and low 30s, so we will go below freezing in some locations tonight. Won't last very long, though. By the time we get towards 9, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, those numbers bounce back pretty quickly. Not quite as warm as what we saw today, but still around average for this time of year, mid-40s for the most part. There'll be some slightly cooler numbers here towards the lakes on the east side. We're getting to that time of year where that starts to play back into the forecast, but again, it's a good problem to have. Overnight lows tonight getting down to 28. Skies will be mostly clear. There will be a little bit of patchy fog out there, but it's not going to make a whole lot of difference as we head towards the drive time tomorrow morning. High temperatures at 47 with mostly sunny skies, and again, cooler on the east side compared to what we'll see inland. Numbers over the next 7. They look pretty good. 52 will come back there on Friday. As far as the weekend goes, maybe an early shower on Saturday, but it's going to be light. Most of the weekend is going to be dry. Temperatures mid to upper 40s, and then we'll hit 55 again on Monday. Starting to see some wind play into that forecast early next week, but it's March. And it's 50, and it's sunny.
And we're not complaining.
We have been due. That's right. Yeah. Right, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Still ahead, someone stole a whole lot of cheese from a Michigan-based pizza maker. Oh. We have the latest on a Hungry Howie's truck heist just ahead.
And new information is coming in on the deadly crash of a military helicopter off the Florida coast. We've learned one of the victims is from Michigan. Back in a moment.
11 service members are presumed dead after an overnight chopper crash off the Florida coast during a Special Forces training mission.
And we're just learning from our sister station in Grand Rapids that one of those missing Marines is Sergeant Andrew Seif from Holland, Michigan. Our Jay Gray has the latest. Jay?
Good evening. As you can see, there is still a heavy, thick fog here right now. Witnesses say it was even worse overnight, and that likely contributed to the tragic accident here. Wreckage from the UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter began washing ashore early this morning.
Tragic. It was just a shock to hear it this morning.
Just devastating. You don't have words for it. Just think of the families involved with this. It's hard on them.
11 families waiting for official confirmation that their loved ones died when their helicopter crashed in dense fog during a military training exercise Tuesday night.
We always hold out hope anytime there's a crash. I know we have an incredible search and rescue team.
7 of the men on board were part of a Marine Special Forces group out of Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. The helicopter and its 4 Army crew members were part of the Louisiana National Guard, a military community also now suffering.
My priorities are search and rescue for our soldiers and the Marines, and secondly is to take care of our families.
This morning, President Obama called commanders at both bases to express his condolences to the families, service members, and the community of the 11 presumed dead. A community now preparing for the worst after news of the tragic accident.
You don't know if it's somebody you know. Your heart goes out to them. This is a big military community. Everybody pulls together.
Pulling together to mourn those lost and support the families they left behind. At the time of the crash, military officials say the unit was practicing insertion and extraction missions using small boats and the helicopters to move teams in and out of target areas. In Navarre Beach, Florida, Jay Gray, Local 4.
All right, Jay. Well, still to come, was it all about the money?
Well, hear what new Miami Dolphin Ndamukong Suh had to say today about leaving the Lions. Bernie has that just ahead in sports.
It's been nearly 2 years since Paul DeWolf, the U of M medical student, was found murdered. And today, the final defendant said his final words.
I took it to trial because I had to prove that I was innocent of murder.
But this defendant wasn't expecting to spend the rest of his life in prison. We'll tell you why coming up on Local 4.